Years. I don't know how long it was back. And he's working with Wayne Parker on some of his products, so he's kind of merging with Wayne a little bit. So, but Trevor, I've known like so a long time. He's basically one of the best known guys around for catching fish. So if he can talk loud, we can't use the speaker because I've been in the other room. They can hear our voices with the speaker. So Trevor can probably, you can talk loud enough, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
okay. Trevor, come on up. And please give an applause for Trevor Smith.
Well, yes, thank you, Tom, for and Northwest Steelheaders for having me out. My name is Trevor Smith. Northwest Trails Fishing Adventures is the name of my business. I've been guiding going on about 15 years, based right here out of Salem, and kind of cut my teeth on the whole guiding thing on the North San Am River. Like I said, late 90s, late 99, 2000, back when we used to have a lot of fish in that river. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was spring salmon, the spring Chinook. That was a real treat to have big numbers of fish like we had back then, and hopefully we'll see again in the future. We used to have lots and lots and lots of springers in the Sandy, North and South Sandy Am. And like I said, that's kind of what got me going on guiding was that fishery. So these guys asked if I'd come in and talk about springers with you guys and just kind of fill you up, catch you up to speed on where we are. Some people say, oh, it's over, time to move on. Some people say, oh, it's just getting going. Well, it depends on where you fish, how you fish, what you're after. The coastal springers are just really a different strain of fish than what we see out of the Columbia fish or the Willamette fish. For some reason, they tend to be a little bit bigger typically. Overall. Very, very, very strong. Probably one of the strongest salmon I've ever caught is a coastal springer. Very fun fish. As the water gets low and clear throughout the course of the spring, you really gotta get kind of real stealthy with them. You can't get away with running big plugs and big baits, and they tend to kind of move into riffles and kind of start hiding out. So a lot of guys really enjoy that in late June and early July until they close that, in putting on waders and kind of sneaking in on them because they'll like I said, they're kind of on the hide. They know the water's low, they know the water's clear, and they don't like to be seen. So you guys are catching them in fast water that's that deep. So that's a great fishery for taking some spin gear and putting on your waders or getting in a pontoon boat or something and going down the river and going after them. Do I see an arm?
Yeah. What do the bait fishermen, how do they fish it?
That's a great question. The question is bait fishermen. How do the bait fishermen fish them? Really, a Chinook salmon is a Chinook salmon. No matter, in my opinion, whether you're fishing them in the spring, the summer, the fall, or the winter. They all eat the same thing. They all bite the same thing. They love herring. They love salmon eggs. They love sand shrimp. They love prawns. They're very aggressive on hardware, spinners, quick fish, plugs. You really, my arsenal for spring salmon is my same arsenal for summer salmon, my same arsenal for fall salmon. They, like I said, I feel like a Chinook is a Chinook, and they're just different runs come in at different time of the year, but we can target them the same way. Bobber fishing, a lot of people like to bobber fish, right? A big deep hole where they're pinned up, holding up, and go throw bobbers in there. Or a lot of people like to throw drift fish for them, just conventional bounce the bottom spinners, blue fox spinners can be deadly at times for there's just so many ways to do it. It's it's fun to experiment with new techniques, but if you've got a technique that works for you for catching catching, Chinook salmon in the fall, try it in the spring. You'd probably be surprised because it works. It works both ways. Any more? Did I answer your question?
You did.
I know I'm kind of bouncing around here. It's such a broad topic. Spring salmon is so broad because, like I said, this thing starts in the middle of February and goes, clear into July. So I mean, really, you think about it, it's the longest salmon fishery that we have. We're very, very fortunate to have these fish because Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, we're the only states that have spring salmon. They're not known for being, big monsters. Very rarely do you see them over 25 pounds, but they do exist. But the big attraction to the spring salmon is just the fatty omega-3 acid that's in those fish, and just they're such a marvelous table fare. I probably one of the best eating fish on the planet, if not the best, in my opinion. Right now, the Columbia is full of jack salmon, which doesn't surprise me. I talked to some guys today that were up by Bonneville and said there's a lot of jacks being caught. And what a jack is a jack is a immature male salmonoid species. So there's jack Chinooks and jack coho and jack steelhead, but they're all males. And nobody really knows why. I mean, it's kind of a scientific myth is why are these young males coming back and how come we aren't seeing the young females? So it is what it is, but jacks always tail up the run. For whatever reason, it's just the way it is. Once you start seeing jack counts start climbing high over Bonneville Dam, and jack counts start climbing high over the Willamette Falls Fish Passage, the bulk of your fish, the bulk of your adults are through, and now here come the jacks to tail up the run. The nice thing about a jack salmon is a salmon that's under 24 inches. Okay, and it's very important that you do measure these guys because they're a freebie. You don't have to tag them. And in most places in the state, I believe you can keep 5 of them. Now, double check your rules and regulations, but I believe it's 5. So you're getting 5 free salmon that are under 24 inches. Well, 24 inches is a very nice fish, and a couple of good meals there. So a lot of people love to go after those jacks. They're great. They're fabulous. They're a young salmon. The reason they do the big limits and they want them out of the system because they really are really tough on the fish because they think they're one of the big boys. Okay, so they're gonna move on up the river into whichever drainage you're going into, and they're gonna try to go pair up with a hen, and they're gonna try to go spawn. And then once they get into the fresh water, and they realize that they're not sexually mature, then all of a sudden they become hungry, and now they start eating the eggs right out of the nests that the hens are laying. So the big bucks are really protective over the hens. While those jacks are around, those jacks will try to sneak in and take a couple eggs out of the nest. So the big bucks are chasing these jacks around. So anyway, they know they're trouble, and that's why they want them out of the system because they're not going to reproduce. So but lots and lots of them right now going over Bonneville Dam. I'm sure a lot of you have computers, but you can get on the Bonneville Dam, the Fish Cam. It's called the Fish Cam website, which is really kind of fun to watch because there's a camera right there on the viewing window, and it updates depending on the time of the day and how many fish are moving. But you get to watch all these salmon going through the window, and it kind of a tease, but it's fun to see. It's funny, you hear guys talk about how slow it is in the Columbia right now. But boy, they're out there in late February and March when there's hardly anything around. Burning all sorts of time and fuel and bait and tackle. And right now, I guarantee you, there's at least, 2,000 or 3,000 of them going by you a day in the Columbia. It's just figuring out how to get them, you know. But you've hit the time of year now, a lot of snowmelt going on. You know, Columbia River's a 1,200-mile drainage basin with a lot of tributaries, and this is the time of year where there's just a lot of snowmelt and a lot of, you know, all the dams in the Columbia are up, you know, pushing water. So there's a lot of water in the river. Those fish are still there. It's just a different river than it was back in late February, March, or April. The river's up tremendously. The fish are still there. It's just figuring out how to go after them. And I think if guys would, if you would take the time and experiment, don't go out there and do what you did in late March and April, and don't go out there and troll down Davis Bar or down Caterpillar Island or I-5 or Tool or wherever it was you fished and caught fish, because you're looking at a totally different river. You're looking at different water height. You're looking at different water temperature, which is huge, huge, huge factor. And right now, the fish they're not in that zone, and they may not even be interested in eating herring as much. This may be the time to go slide over right along the beach in 6, 8 feet of water and put out some spinners or some, you know, some spin and glows and prawns, or put out some quick fish, or, you know, try some different techniques, because there's plenty of fish there. And there will be, and the Columbia just opened up again last Thursday and is scheduled to stay open until the summer Chinook fishery happens. Their scheduled date for that. So right now, I mean, you're looking at, best I can tell, you're looking at salmon fishing wide open in the Columbia for a long time. Because it'll probably, well, there will be a closure, there will be a closure in the summer Chinook season, but then the river will open up again August 1 for the fall run. So got a lot of options, a lot of opportunities right now. It's actually kind of fun to go out and experiment in some of these areas in the Columbia. You know, go out there, pack a lunch, and just instead of going burning a bunch of fuel, like I said, go find a nice quiet beach and go anchor it alongside the beach. One of the best tips I ever got from a guy down in Astoria when we had a sturgeon fishery down there. I had a day off and I wanted to go explore for summer steelhead, and he sent me up, oh gosh, Jim Crow Sands. I don't know if any of you know where that is, but it was a long doggone boat ride. But anyway, he got up in there and anchored up right on this beach. And the technique, he told me, it was thread a sand shrimp and use an orange spin and glow with white wings. And he said, throw it on the beach, so out of the boat. So here we are anchored up, you know, from here to the wall or less, maybe here to this easel from the beach. So you throw it on the beach and drag it out real slow. And it's just as soon as you can't see that orange spin and glow, put it in the rod holder. And I thought he was crazy until that rod holder was in the holder for 30 seconds, and that thing just exploded. You know, so those fish are running. I mean, literally, that was probably 3.5, 4 feet of water that sand shrimp and that spin and glow were in, right off on the sandy beach. And I couldn't believe my eyes when that rod was just pinned, peeling the string off the reel, and a nice big 20-pound summer Chinook was going that way, you know, with a sand shrimp in his gut. It was pretty neat. So it was a huge lesson learned. So, you know, you got miles and miles of beaches between Bonneville Dam and Astoria that you can go get your boat right next to them. Read the tide books. That's huge, huge, huge. I can't even explain how big, you know, the tide affects the Columbia River all the way to Bonneville Dam. And it affects the Willamette River all the way to the Oregon City Falls. And so there is movement, and on a big tide, it'll back the river up, slow the river down. On a big exchange, on a big ebb, that river will speed up. And you want to do your anchor fishing on that outgoing tide. So that's when those fish, on the incoming tide, those fish seem to kind of get up and kind of mill around. You know, that's their time, you know, that's when they used to be kind of getting pushed around. You know, they love it. To them, it's a free ride. The analogy I've always used is that the fish is like a tumbleweed in the wind. They go where they're pushed. You know, so those big incoming tides, that's why, you know, Tom and I were talking earlier, you know, the big tides in Tillamook is a great time to go up into the upper bay, up around Mimulus, because most fish are going to be from the jetty to the upper bay in an hour, you know, because they're just going to ride the flow. You know, it's an easy deal. But on these soft exchanges, they don't have enough water to bump them in hardly past the Coast Guard station or maybe the ghost hole, lower ghost hole. So that, you know, that's the time you want to stay down low. Well, it's the same in Columbia. They'll ride those incoming tides a long ways, but once they run out of tide, now the tide starts going out. Now it's time to go to work, and that's just go, 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 go. Well, Chinook salmon is lazy. They're very lazy. They don't want to, they're not going to sit there and fight that heavy water because they're coming in out of that ocean like a fully charged battery. And for every day they're in the river, they're living off of fat stores. And so exerting the least amount of energy possible is what they're all about. So they're going to get right in on those edges, and you're going to see them. I mean, I've had guys, you know, right here in town in Salem, you know, get up on ledges and watch salmon and steelhead just, you know, 2 feet off the bank. So they're lazy. They're going to find that easy water, which means we got to find that easy water and get in there and go after it. So just something to think about, something to go and try. Because like I said, you got a lot of opportunities right now. This is a fun time of year. You got a lot of stuff going on. You know, you got trout fishing's getting ready to, you know, go open up in the lakes, and Diamond Lake kicking out some great big rainbows. You know, you get halibut fisheries starting, what, tomorrow?
Thursday.
Or Thursday. Okay, so you got halibut, you know, you got some good ocean stuff. Salmon fishing out in the ocean. You know, you can go in the ocean and target salmon right now. And the guys that know what they're doing are going out there on downriggers and doing very well. So, you know, you got fish moving inland. I mean, this is a fun time of year. This time of year it kind of kicks everything off. It's almost overwhelming to me because I know I've got so many options. Where do I want to go tomorrow? I could go patrol circles in Willamette. I could go out to Columbia. I could go to the coast. There's a lot of different things I could do right now versus in March and April when we first kind of start gearing up for spring. We have pretty much 1 or 2 options, and that's the Willamette or the Columbia, and that's it. So anyway, take advantage of it. Take advantage of these fish. They're great fish. They're just absolute beauties. Do take note, they got to be fin clipped to keep. But hey, a lot of them are. I would say a very high percentage of them are. The ones that aren't, you know, treat them properly. Take it easy with them. Get a nice photo. Get them back and going. You know, hopefully get these native runs back to where maybe someday we can keep 1 a year or 2 a year or something. You know, we're already seeing that happen with our coho runs on the coast. You know, every system in the coast, you know, where I like to fish in the fall with Select, you know, we're able to keep a couple wild coho every year. That started about 3 years ago, and that's just due to just all the years of not being able to keep them and release them. But now that native strain is back strong enough to where we can start to hang on to some of those. So hopefully we'll see that with these spring fish as well. So, well, folks, I want to thank you all very much. Hopefully I passed on some good information. I do have some business cards here. Feel free to grab them. Give me some phone call if you have questions, or if you're looking to fish this spring or this fall or this winter or whatever. Like I said, this is what I do for a living is fish, and love it, and love being around people, and my goal in my boat is to have fun. And for some odd reason, when you have fun, you catch fish. So I'll leave you with that. So
Okay.
thank you very much.